Welcome to the Center for Cosmology and Particle Physics. Another year. This is the brown bag. You've successfully found your way here. Congratulations. I'm going to give us all an update on where we're at, what we're going to do this year, which is pretty similar to the previous years. This presentation is available on the event list for CCPP. Like for every event, there can be a PDF attached. And for this one, there is a PDF attached, and it is this presentation. And in addition to that presentation, there is a PDF of a document many of you seen, which is like a long prose document about your entire scientific career as a graduate student, postdoc, faculty member, post-faculty member, all of the possible stages of life you could be in the CCPP and what we do. So I'm just going to briefly describe what we do. I'm going to start with like scientifically what we do. I drew this now a few years ago. It's roughly still accurate. The people here work on astrophysics. They work on particle theory. There are, I think I can accurately say, people working on particle experiment at some level. And all of these things intersect in many different ways. I sort of highlighted dark matter as a place where lots of these things come together in various ways. But there's lots of intersections and in between things. And if you want to argue about where each of these things should be positioned in this space between these three poles, then we can do that at some time in the future.
You're in the right place.
Yes. What do? We do this. We do the brown bag, and this is the core event that joins together the people in the center. Happens now at 12:30 in this room. There will be cookies and coffee afterwards. Despite the nature of this talk, all the brown bag talks are Blackboard talks, except for this one. Occasionally you can show a slide if there's just absolutely have to. But I've gotten in front of a bunch of people in it and have drawn by hand galaxy and stellar spectra over wide wavelength ranges after practicing for like an hour to do so. But it is actually a useful, the reason we do it on the Blackboard usually is it slows everybody down, because the point of the talk is to be understandable to the wide variety of people we have here. We have people who are very, very theoretical in the realm of particle physics, and we have people like me who are essentially observers. I'm not actually an observer from the point of view of like the rest of astronomy, but in this group, I'm an observational astronomer. But we want the brown bag to be a place where all of those people are able to follow what's going on and figure out why is it important to me as an observational astronomer, what's going on in conformal field theory. Why should it matter to me at some level? It may not change my day-to-day life or my day-to-day research, but it actually does. Having a window into that world gives me a different sense of the importance of what I'm doing. It gives me context that I wouldn't otherwise have, and that actually I find intellectually valuable to have. And that's the point of having these brown bag talks. And there are no particular restrictions on topics. I will make the usual joke, which is that you're not allowed to have a talk which is about the anthropic principle. You're allowed to mention it. It's a loosening of the rules. You're allowed to mention it, but like if you're talking about string theory and you want to say this isn't immediately ruled out because anthropic blah, 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 and then you go on to talk about string theory, that's okay. but if you try to do that, if you try to give a talk about the anthropic principle, then you will endure a lecture from Hogg about the importance of magnitudes in astronomy.
I want to know why you guys think that.
Sorry, I will have to endure that talk. And I agree with him. Anyway, okay. There's sort of different ways different things, and certainly the new people who are here, who I will ask to stand up a little bit later, but the new people, at some point I'm going to ask you to give one of these, and you'll have a choice as to what to give. One is sort of the regular brown bag, which is like, oh, I'm working on this, it's maybe nearing completion, or I just submitted it, and I want to, give a description of a result, why it's important, the details of the result, what it means. So that's sort of a regular brown bag, and would occupy about an hour, less than an hour, less than or equal to an hour. Remember, this group asks a lot of questions, so when you prepare for these, you want to prepare for like less than an hour of material to give them, like half of that or something. And it's great, because if you get half an hour of information out there and people are engaged and they're talking and they're thinking about it, then they will absorb it. So don't overestimate what people can absorb in an hour, because it isn't very much. Years of teaching is taught me. The other is introduction to my field, which is like, I work in, on stellar spectra, and this would not be a talk which would be a result on particular stellar spectra, but it would be like, why do we look at stellar spectra? What do they tell us? What are the big things that are going to happen in the next few years? How does it connect to other areas of physics? So that's sort of another type. And another type which we may do, and we certainly did when we were on Zoom in the pandemic, and we do this occasionally, but I like to do these, is very short research updates, like 20 minutes. So we would do a couple in a given brown bag, and it would be like something you really could say in 20 minutes. And those can be fun too. Okay, any questions about that? Any suggestions, requests? Okay, great.
But maybe one thing.
Yes.
Nobody would be extremely angry if you end before 1 hour. You think?
Nobody will be angry.
Nobody.
Nobody will be angry. Yeah, no, that's right. I think that's a good lesson for almost all talks. I was trying. Wait, were you talking to me? It's reading the room. I thought he was making a general statement. Okay. The other things that go on, we have an astrophysics seminar, a high energy physics seminar, and for the high energy physics seminar, I believe it's still the case that there's a journal club that happens before it on Wednesdays at 12:30. It's like going over what's on the archive. I don't think we actually have a current plan for the astro version of this.
No, we need to talk about it.
We need to talk about
There'll
it.
be an Astro Journal Club at some point during the week.
Okay, good. But we won't be doing it on Tuesdays before the
It
seminar.
won't be
I think
Tuesdays
that
at
much is
12:30.
decided.
It'll be some other time other than
We'll
that.
do something else. Great. There is also for the graduate students, I believe this is only for the graduate students. Or is
And
Kara?
postdocs.
And postdocs?
So,
Kara will describe
yeah,
this.
okay, yeah. Hi,
Kara Giovanetti.
I'm a fourth year in the CCPP. We do a Pheno Grad Journal Club. It is open to undergraduates, graduates, and postdocs. Faculty, I'm sorry, I love you, you're not invited. Postdocs are welcome to attend, but not to present. We like to keep things student focused. We meet every other week. And we mostly do HEP PH, sometimes we do Astro PH, sometimes we do other things. It's kind of up to the speaker. If you're interested, come flag me down and I'll add you to our Slack channel.
And Pheno means?
Phenomenology. It's sort of like halfway between theory and experiment, sort of.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I think it's about right, and it's a very broad group, especially in this context. So good. So this is a special brown bag. Next week is also a special brown bag because it's the mini symposium. The mini symposium is it'll occur at this time 1 week from now, and it will be a series of. Well, let me talk about its purpose first. Its purpose is to talk to the first and second year graduate students and describe to them what happens in this center. Like the first year graduate students who arrived like, I don't know, a week or two ago and are just now taking their first graduate classes. Some of them are still figuring out what field they're interested in. And it's meant, and each of the centers in the department does something like this. And the idea is to introduce them to what's going on. What are the research opportunities? What sort of work happens here? What kind of people are we? And it'll be a series. So it'll be a series of short, very short, like 5-minute talks, depending on how many people are there, are presenting, and that's meant to sort of span the space of CCPP. So it's an interesting window into all of the different parts of CCPP. And then the following Monday, we will start our regular series with Ahmed Almeri, who's sitting right there, who's going to talk about why there is no information paradox with regard to black holes. Is that right?
That's right.
All right, good. Good. Those are things. We have a website. There's an email list, which you're probably all on because you got here. If you happen to be here but are not on this list or want to manage your state on any of these lists, talk to Mu-Lin Ding, who's the systems administrator. You'll get weekly and daily updates on all the events. There are special lists for the postdocs and graduate students. And really any of the physics mailing lists you can find on the NYU groups.nyu.edu site. Just search for anything that starts with fas.phys. And that's all the physics lists. Okay. So general things about, so that's sort of the things we do, how we meet, how we communicate, and how we behave. So the CCPP is first and foremost a group of people. Like there's some base class, which is group of people, and we're some subclass, which is, a research center. And we have all the requirements associated with groups of people. And one of those is that we treat each other with kindness and respect. And so that is one of the things we need to do. However, if all we had to do was treat each other with kindness and respect, then our lives would be, that would be, well, it wouldn't necessarily be relatively simple, but it wouldn't be as specific as we want to be. We're something more specific. We're a group of people who is a research center, and being a research center means that we want to make intellectual project progress in science. And one of the reasons we do that as a group is because we want to critically engage with each other. Someone comes up and gives a talk, people respond. Some of that response is with critiques, like, you don't seem to have thought of this, or what about that, or other critiques that you could have, and you want to be able to make those critiques in some productive way, and to do that, you have to have an atmosphere of sort of mutual trust. Like when someone critiques something I say or tries to correct me in some way, I want to have the feel, first of all, I want that to be done in a respectful way. I also want to start with the baseline of yes, this person is coming from a good faith place. And that person, if they're making that critique, wants to also feel that, because you don't want to, feel like when you make a critique that it's going to be received as an attack if that's not something you meant. So we want to set that baseline. And I think that our scientific progress is really, having that baseline is fundamental to making real scientific progress. This is something that I think matters a lot. So things you can do to help that is just use welcoming and respectful language, right? Another thing is to act in a way that encourages participation and questions from everybody. So this group, as you will learn very quickly, likes to interrupt the speaker and likes to say, in the middle of their talk. And that's a great thing. The speakers like it. They feel like there's engagement. The other audience members like questions because often questions clarify things that many people in the audience don't understand. And we want to do that in a way that encourages everybody to do it. Everybody does speak up if they have something that they want answered. And so, that means, treating those questions with respect and giving people time to respond, and giving other people a chance to ask questions as well as yourself. And so we want those questions, and we want those questions to be made in a way that encourages other people to participate as well. Good. We want to respect people's preferences as to how they're addressed, in particular pronouns, and just be aware of that. And I think sort of, again, a baseline thing is harassment and discrimination is not acceptable behavior at all. Now, these are things that I'm saying in the context of like, that this is how we as a group want to behave. But of course, we're also part of a university, and which is like some sort of corporation, and there are a bunch of policies that are specifically associated with that. And the purpose of these policies, one of the purposes of these policies, is to encourage good behavior. But there are very specific university policies which are worth being aware of. Oh yeah, a really simple thing. There is a little kitchenette over there on the 9th floor. When you use it, clean up after yourself. There's nobody in this group whose job it is to clean that up. We all clean it up together.
Hey, Mike, I'm
yes.
going to add, it's not just putting things in the dishwasher.
Yes.
But putting them away.
Yes.
Every now and then, people should do it. Or better yet, team up where you're waiting for coffee to make and help somebody else who's short.
Yeah, there's a little thing. It says, either says dirty or clean. And if it's dirty, put things in there. And if it's clean, empty it and then put your thing in there. Or, as Glenna says, if you're just waiting for the coffee to get made, instead of just chit-chatting to your neighbor like David and I were just doing, you can empty the dishwasher.
Who turns it on?
Oh gosh, that's so complicated. That'd be like a whole brown bag.
Is there a problem when people see it's full?
No, you just, if it looks full, turn it on.
If you're having trouble finding place for your cup, that's an indicator that maybe you should turn it on.
Yeah, each
And then
cup,
switch the-
think of it as like a fermion.
They are literally fermionic, actually.
That's true.
And anyway,
No.
not taking this analogy any further because I'm not qualified to.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Is there like detergent or soap that you can buy?
Under the
Yeah,
counter.
under the sink, there's soap. I hope that's true, but yeah, I think so.
It's allegedly true.
If it's not, then tell Tim.
Yes, yes.
Of course, also you should treat this dirty clean as any other empirical, like, data.
Yeah.
It is a noisy signal.
Yeah, that's right. It is not always strictly true. I'm so glad we're recording this. We have two staff members. So they're physics staff members, you will find. But there are two of the physics staff members who are associated with us. One is Tim Johnston, who's the program administrator. The other is Moon Ding, who's the systems administrator. All computer, network, printer, other related things. That is Mulin. AV stuff is often Mulin. Mulin's on a sort of rotating schedule in coordination with the physics sysadmins, who can also often help you with some of those things if you need like in-person assistance. Tim is the program administrator who will make sure there are cookies out there, will make sure that space is allocated correctly, who deals with making sure everybody has an office, does some reimbursements for various things, manages our budget. And so these people are very important. We have to be respectful of their time. This is actually, it's a group of like 100 people, and there's a lot of administration that has to go behind that, and these people do a truly amazing job at keeping all of that under control. And so, yes. And specifically for the postdocs, especially since there's so many new postdocs, Tim is going to ask you in the next month or so, like for a little time, to just like do a bit of Q&A about some of the practicalities of doing things. Just because he's found that there's sort of many common questions that would be good to talk about, together. So just look out for that. Okay. I didn't make the full list of everybody this time, which I normally do, but just to give you a sense, there are, I guess this adds up to about 80 or so people plus visitors. So there are a lot of people in this group. And lots of visitors coming through all the time. If you are a postdoc or a graduate student or even a faculty member, take advantage of the fact that there are visitors here. There's a list of visitors that comes out every week. If there's somebody who you think what they do sounds interesting, we're giving the person an office here. They will be open to somebody emailing them and saying, hey, I would like to talk to you for half an hour. Can we sit down and do that sometime? That's the purpose of visiting a place. And so people will be open to that. Like Zoltan will be open to that. Zoltan Hyman, who's here today. Are you here all semester?
I'm here towards the end of the semester.
Okay, got it. Good. New postdocs. I don't know how I want to do this. There are a lot of you all. But I would like you each, so that people can see your faces, because I couldn't find enough of your faces on the internet, to stand up and say very briefly what you work on. Like, for example, if I did this, I'd stand up and say, I'm Mike Blanton. I work on large spectroscopic surveys in astronomy. And so I would like people to do that. And we're going to do it in this order, which is alphabetical by neither name. and I think that's supposed to be Bruno.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm Bruno. Bruno is the female version of the name.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in Chicago before for another postdoc. I work mostly on string theory, like on time models of string theory to try to understand general properties of quantum gravity and holography. Yeah.
Excellent. And is Anirban Roy here today?
I think he's arriving in October.
He arrives in October. Excellent. I know Tavisha is not here because she arrives in January. Grant is online or on his way to the airport.
I'm still here. Hi everybody. I'm Grant. I'm a new James Arthur postdoctoral fellow here. I was previously a postdoc at UC Berkeley and then the KITP at UC Santa Barbara. I work on quantum field theory, scattering amplitudes, the so-called string swampland program and string theory more broadly, classical GR, and cosmology.
Great. Gabrielle? Not here. All right. Giovanni?
continuous postdoc here I have a joint position between here and the Planetarium Institute. And I work on large-scale structural cosmology, mainly cosmic voids and galaxy clustering.
Okay. Sudip Kumar.
Hi everyone, I'm Shobik. As a postdoc at Berkeley before, and I work on primordial and Gaussianity, inflation, gravitational waves, action physics. So yeah, mostly particle theory background, but then applying things to cosmology.
Great. Hi.
Hello, I'm Chenshu. I'm a new postdoc. I'm also joined with the IAS. My research direction is almost exactly the same as Shobik. I'm a particle theorist doing interesting early universe signature of ESI.
Beyond the standard model.
Yes.
Yes. And Simon Lin.
Yeah, I'm Simon. I'm a new postdoc here. I'm actually a postdoc at NYU Abu Dhabi. So I'm working on like using like quantum information techniques to understand quantum gravity. I also work on tensor networks. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
All right. Let's have all your names on here. Do you want to briefly stand up and do this? I don't know if Connor's here. Connor, where's
Hi, I'm Connor Hangy. I'm a second year, and I'm doing some projects in cosmology and cosmological simulations, dark matter baryon interactions, things like that.
I'm Alexander Novara, also second year. I'm doing some work with galactic dynamics and stellar compositions and how you can do black magic to find out things using those bits of information.
Okay. Valentina?
Hi, I'm Valentina. I'm a second year as well. I work with and Shirley back at CCA, and we work on using machine learning to find exoplanets from the TESS survey.
Is Clayton Weller here?
Yeah.
I just want to mention that my last name starts with a W, and I'm on the middle of the list in alphabetical order.
It is remarkable.
But so I'm.
Oh, it is in alphabetical order. How did that happen? Go ahead.
I'm Quentin Weller, and I work on CFT and mathematical physics.
Ian?
Hi, I'm Ian Williams. I'm a second year as well, and I've been most recently studying galaxy groups.
Is Jin here? No. Okay. And Tony, is Tony here?
Hi, I'm Tony. I'm now a first year student. I work with Neil on particle physics, cosmology, but if I'm being really honest, I fit things. That's pretty much just my life.
Also, that's not.
Yeah, I like to point out those are both my first names. So I guess I'm a quantum super wizard.
I'm sorry.
So what is right? I'm confused.
What it is?
Yeah, in alphabetical order, it's fine.
That's true. Yeah, my initials are ZZ, so
I say. What should I write here?
it's ZHOU.
Got it. Yes, I did know that. My apologies. Okay, so are there any visitors today? I should let Zoltan formally introduce himself, and then we'll go to other visitors.
I'm Zoltan Hyman. I'm at Columbia. I'm on sabbatical leave, some travel, but I plan to be here, as I said, 2 weeks at the end of this semester, and then dropping by more regularly.
And you work on?
And I work on binary black holes and gravitational wave astronomy, with Andrew, and also early universe, how massive black holes forms in the first place, and then cosmology, including machine learning.
Do we have other visitors here today? Yes.
I'm Owen. I just finished a master's at
What's your
Cambridge.
last name?
Sorry, Owen Dowd.
Okay.
I just finished up a master's at Cambridge, so I'm visiting for a year, working with Gaston on CFTs and string theory and EDS3.
Any other visitors today? I think you're a technical visitor. Okay. Oh, we have Bob Johnson.
Yeah. I'm a repeated visitor every fall for the last 15 years. And I work on planetary science, which people used to work on here.
Right.
Happy to be back.
Great. So just other things to be aware of. Ahmed is actually an NYU Abu Dhabi faculty, and you've heard several other people here who are NYU Abu Dhabi affiliated. There's a whole center there that's related, that has astro and particle physics in it. There are collaborations between our department and that department. And you will find PhD students from there taking sometimes over here, taking their early year courses. So that's something to be aware of. I don't know if there's anything else I should say. Okay. Also, you heard some people here who joint with the Flatiron Institute. And the Flatiron Institute, there are several people here with joint affiliations. I don't know if this is an exhaustive list, but there's a lot, particularly in astronomy and in Pheno and in cosmology. There's a lot of activity going on up there. You definitely should be aware of it if you're new here. There's a weekly Friday meeting which alternates between cosmology and I think this is particle astrophysics. So that's the PA and Pac-Man. Yep. Okay, yeah. And so that happens every Friday. There's lots of other group meetings up there which are open to NYC participants, and so that's a really useful resource for us. Okay, any questions?
NYC, you mean New York City?
Yes, I mean New York City. It's quite open to, people from New York City. Not necessarily people off the street, like just people walking by. But the people who want to go in there are usually astrophysicists or physicists of some sort, which there are many of in this great city of ours. Okay. What's happened? Okay. So we reached 105, 106. Wow, that's perfect. And so now, as we've done a couple times in the past, I'd like us to break up into little groups for a little bit of discussion before cookies. And in particular, I have and this is sort of just a get to know you thing. So try, this row of people should not be 4 people who talk to each other. These are just like second-year graduate students, or maybe third year, but whatever. Graduate students, mix among yourselves a little bit. Find people you don't know, break up into groups of 4 or 5, let you chat for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then somebody will respond, we'll go around, and then we'll go have cookies. The question I want you to discuss is with regard to these brown bags, maybe even seminars or any other sort of activity, what is the part of the CCPP you think you would really want to hear more about, have a more in-depth explanation of? For me, for example, this would be the effective field theory of large-scale structure. I would like somebody to explain that. I remember there was some discussion group like this that I think Fedor and I were both in, where we discussed it, and I think neither one of us knew what it was, and seems like there's somebody in between us who knows what it is exactly. Yes, you. Yeah, so that's just one example, but I'm sure there are other examples, and that as we schedule brown bags, that would be a useful thing to know, like what are people in this room interested in hearing about that isn't in their own field already? Okay, go ahead. Wake up, mix around, talk to each other. Yes. Oh, yeah. Maybe I should go anyway.
Check it.
Yeah, those are great for the summer. I know, we got All right, that was great. I'm glad we didn't record any of that. I just want very quickly, where we eat, where we have snacks, each group, just to say one thing that you discussed that you can contribute to this thought about what people want to see in future brown bag seminars, what they want to learn about. Some group.
We only talked about things that are too embarrassing. I don't think they should be.
We ruled out things.
We decided that there should not be a brown bag on whether or not we live in a simulation. Even though
This is going to be a long process if we just exclude things. Like, nothing better than that?
Well, there was also a lot of discussion in this group about constraints on interactions and dissipation mechanisms in the dark sector. But it ended up being a physics discussion rather than a brown bag discussion. But, could lead to brown bag topics if somebody in this room knew something about interactions in the dark sector. I don't know.
And my proposal was to use one of our new postdocs to learn at least the language of operator algebras, because they have become important again in physics, and sometimes actually there is really a barrier when you start to read the papers on the subject.
Are these two things related to each other?
No, everything's related,
it's
Mike.
physics, so,
it's the Center for Cosmology and Particle Physics.
Okay,
Was that the recommendation that us learn it, or you guys are trying to learn it?
I think that we are also trying to learn. I can give you some example. Look, a very interesting paper potentially that says, oh, you can have Lorentz invariant physics with an arrow of time. Where you can put an arrow of time and a non-thermodynamical, non-entropic arrow of time. And then you start to read it. It's by someone who is actually a respected person in the field. You couldn't make head of day. I mean, from line one. So having the language could be interesting because the question was interesting and the proposal
Are you saying
was
our
probably
Wired
wrong.
video is wrong?
Sorry?
Is our Wired video wrong? Is it out of date already?
No, I am pretty sure that it's as valid as ever.
I don't know what that means,
Mike,
but clearly I started with the wrong group.
You totally did. That second one should say like observations of interactions or observational. It's about not the it's what the constraints are.
Observation signatures.
Okay, next group. You all broke up, so.
So we
Yeah,
discussed a lot of
Gabriel.
things. The first is to make, let's say, string theory understandable to the ones that are not in that field.
Okay.
And the other one was about cosmological simulation to understand what, or in general simulation to
You mean cosmological simulation?
In cosmology in general, I think. But in general, how simulation works and put things in simulation.
You're thinking of like things beyond gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
And then we talk about some modified gravity theories. Yeah, that's it.
Cool. Next group. Going this way. Yeah, maybe the people in the back.
An art group was talk on limits on primordial black holes that aren't monochromatic limits. That are something more physical, but we don't know exactly how to formulate it. We're hoping someone will do
that. Something like that. That group in the back.
We talked about, one of the things we talked about was this, helium that we produce from fusion reactions
could be used for, experiments in the
Pellet by pellet, right?
It's a good brown bag top.
Since we've released like the helium reserves, right? We're just dumping helium on the market right now, so we'll not have
So
any.
this is why we need fusion.
Yeah, I think.
I just learned that Columbia doesn't have helium retrieval system.
What?
Columbia University Physics Department doesn't have helium retrieval system. So when they use helium, it just evaporates into the atmosphere.
I see.
So just waste.
Is that why everyone in Columbia talks with a really high voice?
Okay, what's the next group?
We were kind of like a.
Yeah, you were a super group.
Yeah, so we talked about like gravitational waves and nanograv. And we also talked about like a lot of the theories don't know how observations work, like in astronomy. So like how. So like a chat on observations, telescopes.
The cloak-on at the end of the semester on nanogram.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Not at the end, but early November.
Oh, did I miss a group?
They're back in the corner.
So let's see, we talked about maybe a review of ongoing or future particle physics experiments. What else?
General lecture on holography.
Ooh. General?
Like holography. A lecture.
Wait, yeah, you have to be more specific than that in this room.
No.
No? I think so. Electron holography?
Yes. Electron?
Wait, a lecture on holography.
Not electron.
So it's less specific.
Oh! I don't know, electron holography could be something. They might already be, right? I don't know.
It may well be.
Should be able to, it's got their waves and stuff, right? Or did it just, no?
We even have a suggestion for the particle experiment.
Like for a new one, we should.
Yeah, I can follow up with a postdoc in our group.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. I think we only have our group left. Is that right?
There were like some groups.
Oh, yeah? Is there anybody else, including Sir, who wants to say something?
I do, but if there are other people.
Go
Should
ahead.
I go ahead?
You go.
So we also had gravitational waves, observations. I think there was something we mentioned about stars.
Yeah, brown dwarfs.
Brown dwarfs.
Oh.
Should we have a seminar about brown dwarfs?
I heard.
There was one, I think, last semester.
Yeah, Jackie Verity came last year, yeah. But there's always more to learn about brown dwarfs.
Yes.
That's one of the things I learned from Jackie Verity.
Something that's maybe slightly adjacent to research stuff that we were discussing would be nice to hear about is maybe like as an extended part of some seminar like this, what are the values of the department, or like what is the culture, what do we believe in as a center or department, which would also, I think, benefit early graduate students, because when we come in, it's not quite clear what also the work ethic or working style is expected. So mostly the early assumption is that you keep work till you drop, and then it takes a few years to figure out that that's not quite.
Working till you drop is not generally sustainable.
Yes.
There's some research that suggests that early conversations about values are really helpful long-term in organizations. So some beginning of the year discussion of values might be really valuable, actually.
Like at a symposium, or like this.
Or right here.
No, and it was good that you said some things about that.
But I'm going to go on to the last group because we're over time.
So we had, we're over time.
Yeah.
Some discussion of like early universe, maybe breaking it apart, observational signals, like the different eras of the early universe and how you might see them.
Okay.
And I wanted to know what's the big deal about these emulations of galaxies and what are they good for?
Emulations as opposed to simulations.
Yeah, emulations. Yeah. Simulations, I'm down with, but the emulations, I don't know what they're good for. But people seem excited about them, so I would love to know why people are excited.
Okay, that's great. Thank you all. We're done for another year.
And send suggestions for seminars.
Yes. Yeah, because the seminar committee, which is led by Glennis and Patrick and David Dunsky and
Sergey Dubovsky.
We're talking about the Astro.
and Sir. But for Astro, they're still taking suggestions, and Sergey Dubovsky for high energy theory. You are all excused.
We'll do whatever.
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't know.